We're going to call to order the Policy Review Committee meeting for May 22nd, 2025. And we'd first like to acknowledge this meeting, but that we were gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Inca, Kamak, and Silks people. And so we'd like to adopt the minutes of the previous meeting held on April 16th, 2025. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? All right.
Page 2 of it, which just says that the city of Merritt grants now scholarship reward blah 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 and 1, 2, 3 blank.
Well, we had also decided at the council meeting, because it forwarded to council, and then we added the attendance and for the.
We'll put it looking criteria.
Yeah,
Criteria is already in 4.1. Criteria is already in 4.1.
But we can fix up the notes and make that amendment. And then. And Councillor Egan, did you have also a question, Councillor Egan? Did you also have same thing? So with that change to the minutes, are we good to adopt? All in favor? Carried. Okay. Okay, so we don't have any unfinished business, and then we're on to new business, advertising on public property. So to review and recommend the advertising on municipal property policy. And do we have? Yeah. Well, no, I know. I was just going to say, did you have? Okay, yeah. So do we have a mover and second? Well, yeah. Okay. So then some comments here. So, you guys have any questions? All right. Well, I'll put your mic on. So
on the first page, under background, third paragraph, blah, 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 Canada provides a sense that many municipal government.
Right. Yes. That's not in the policy, though, right?
No, but it's just, it's in the discussion. Okay. So that as well. Okay. And then second page, second paragraph says council may want to consider how revenues best support the whole community and whether the city will sell all the space and retain all the revenue. And that kind of defeats the purpose.
Where are we?
Page 2, paragraph 2. Of the briefing, yes. This is our discussion part.
Page 12. Okay.
I don't know what that is online, but
Council may want to consider how revenues best support the community, the whole community, and whether the city will sell all the space and retain all the revenue. To me, that kind of defeats the purpose.
but wouldn't that be so that it could go into our general fund if we get that income and then help it fund our projects?
I think you were talking about more about, because you said that you had been approached by some groups that already want to put up signs to create some source of fundraising. Yeah.
But we don't have, we're still on advertising the city. That's
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but this one is advertising on public property. That's city and public property.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So.
City doesn't have private property, we have public property. So if you want to discuss that, I don't see how.
I did hit it.
Well, I would like to hear the kinds of projects you were thinking about to keep all the money.
So here's where we are on this. So we have the softball association that wants to put banners up on their fences
Like they did
for
last year.
Right. We have no avenue or mechanism on how that money that is brought in by sponsors is to be collected and spent. Is it done by the association and they do what they want with it, or does it come to the city and the city doles it out? We also have the Merritt Centennials where they retain all of the advertising on the boards, which helps them operate. Again, we have no mechanism on what happens with that advertising money. So here we are. We need to come up with a mechanism that works for what we as a council would feel would work best for these groups. Let's be honest here. The Centennials without that advertising money is not going to be able to continue as well as they do. The softball association needs advertising to keep going. How do we keep everybody happy? And what do we do with the flow of revenue that comes through? Because at some point in time, these are city-owned properties and taxpayers pay for them. So the money that comes to them actually belongs to the citizens of Merritt. And we need to make sure that that money gets spent because those facilities are paid for by the citizens of Merritt. We have to be able to track that money. So let's say somebody takes that money and then ends up taking a trip and their family to go somewhere with the advertising money. Right now, we have no way of making sure there's a mechanism to control that money. So we want to be able to do this because we are looking at a softball season where advertisers want to advertise. They would like to have the money, but we have no process. So we're not allowing it at this point in time. So that's where we're at with this. So we need to come up with something that will work for all. And also with the benefit of the groups that need the funding, and also the idea that the city owns these properties and the taxpayers need to be compensated for them. Because without the land, and without the taxpayers paying for it, they wouldn't be able to hang their banners on anything.
That's right.
So
So-
do we have a different percentage that we take for Centennial?
That's
We
what I'm
have-
saying. This is a brand
we
new
have-
policy.
Okay,
we have
that's what I'm saying.
nothing.
How are we going,
We have nothing.
Okay. My other question was, do you have a template?
We're gonna go to the CAO.
Of the, sorry, a template of the agreement?
Yes.
No, because
That would
we're,
outline
no.
fees.
So we haven't, we would do market fees, we would do market research, like we did with the sponsorship policy. We'll go back, I have several up on my browser currently. That we'll look at, but part of it will be if so. Typically, what I found in my research is that most communities manage the advertising.
That makes sense.
The idea is that advertising on rec, arts and culture facilities goes back into infrastructure or programming for those in that realm. There were a couple that had a bit of cost sharing options with not-for-profits. The recommendation we're putting forward for the policy is a hybrid of cost sharing. So a 50-50 cost sharing where those groups can take the opportunity to sell that advertising and they get 50% of the profit. Just like your kids that sell the chocolate bars or chocolate almonds get a portion of the sales for the work that they do. And
For
so
their club, like Girl Guides.
yes, whoever it is, whoever it is. And, the school travel club, right? Like those guys get portions of their profits when they sell meat or whatever it is. So the idea being that we can support minor sports groups, because we're recommending this only apply to minor sports groups. Because they are the people that we're trying to make sure that they're active and things like that. That they have the opportunity to sell spaces and they get half of the revenue. The other half of the revenue comes to the city and it goes right into the reserve, or it offsets operational costs specifically for those types of programs or those types of facilities.
I like this cost sharing program piece because it also engages the sports groups in trying to network with their people to try and invest in these facilities, and maybe we can help recover, the facilities. Instead of gaining 16%, maybe we can take 4% cost recovery from the advertising, or hopefully, or more, maybe.
Right.
Being hopeful.
Ultimately, the sense is that the sponsorships, the naming and the advertising are an opportunity for us to place less of a burden on general taxation and more onto finding other sources of revenue to offset the cost of recreation and cultural and arts.
So have you found that generally 50% is the norm?
There is very few communities do it this way. Most communities have 100%. They take 100% of the revenue the municipality does.
So how would someone like so how does other hockey teams
So
Continue.
just from the groups that I've talked to, let's say the Penticton team, It goes 100% to, or the Princeton team, goes 100% to the city, and then the city works an agreement out back to the hockey club.
Some sort of cost sharing.
Gotcha. Because let's be honest, these are small, privately, but also community supported teams. They need every help they get. Now, we subsidize the arena and we have. So there's a bit of a break there. So we've got to take that into consideration as well. So I would also be comfortable with a 50-50 split. Now, the question that I have is when the advertisers are going to be putting their advertising up, whether it's the softball association or the arena, who do they make the check out to?
Make it to the city of Merritt.
City Merritt.
And then because the contract will be with the city of Merritt, and then we would negotiate or come to an agreement with that user group depending on their season as to when they would get their 50%.
And what
Well,
I would,
My experience with the Centennials and the advertising on those TVs was that the Centennials don't even do the sales of that. They work through a company that says, okay, well, if you put our TVs in, we'll go around and see if we can get the sponsorships for you for that. But I just found that it didn't work for me.
It's more of the board advertising we're talking.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
TVs are pretty much out, so it's now the board advertising.
Okay.
and I would like to see the 50% that comes to the city put back into
Recreation.
recreation.
Yeah.
So if we're collecting money from the ball field, then that 50% goes into the ball field and
Where it
helps with
happens.
maintenance and anything else that we can do for it. Because if we put it in general, it gets lost.
And so we wouldn't want to see it go into general reserves or into general operating. We'd want to see it offset specifically under that cost center of recreation.
Where we
arts and
got, where it
culture.
Yeah.
came from.
So it may not go directly to the ball field because the priority might be, you know, the $1 million worth of.
Well, the skate park,
Improvements at the arena.
the skate park has some damage that has to be repaired, right? Rebar is showing here and there, so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so it may have to go.
Yeah, so there's like, so we can use it, but that helps to grow, you know, if we decide it's gonna go into reserves for capital projects, it helps to grow that capital reserve for, you know,
Recreation.
our very past end of life arena and our past end of life pool. The civic center needs significant work. Every time, you know, the dugouts get damaged, there's work to get done there. Like, there's just a lot. Recreation is very costly. So being able to keep it specifically for that, I think, again, helps to reduce that burden on the ratepayers, especially people who don't feel like they should be paying for recreation because they don't use it.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, well, that's makes sense. And I think that's a good way to go.
So that would be, I mean, we haven't made that recommendation here because I think that's a recommendation you might want to make at council for review.
Speaking of the skateboard park, is there anywhere there that we can get sponsorship on?
So yes, we'll go through the whole list. Like, we're talking about bus shelters and benches and, you know, fencing and places in the pool and sorry, that just lost my thought. I think we can even put it on transit. We'll have to ask them what our opportunities are on the buses, but there's lots of opportunities in many places for us to put this,
Mhm.
you know, heck, the dog park fence. Right? Wouldn't that be appropriate place for purity feeds and
Pet value.
pet value? Right? So.
Yep.
It could definitely grow. I like the idea of the cost sharing as well.
So also to last council, I made a notice of motion that the softball association would like lights in to extend their season.
Well, listen, Tom Day says that we can't have this.
Too bad, Tom's not here any longer. Anyways, point of the matter is that they have made an offer to help buy those lights, which is awesome. But then it comes to a situation of how do we maintain those lights? Those lights have to be maintained. We're gonna have to pay the power. And if they get damaged, I mean, a bulb is around $900 to $1,000 every time one goes. So that's where this fund would come in to help with that. They also would like batting cages. Sure, why not? They also would like a building in the middle where umpires can change their clothes and not have a shower, but you know, they got to be able to
Changing.
change. So now they're changing in the cars on the big events. So if we're going to be attracting these big events, we need to be able to have the facilities to attract these big events. So if we go in a 50-50 cost share where the other 50 goes into a rec commission fund reserve, whatever we want to call it, then we're able to start building funds to take care of these things, because we would also like to see a fourth diamond. We'd like to see another soccer field. right? These are the things we'd like to see. Not that we're always, the advertising that we're talking about is gonna get us there. But right now we have
It's nothing.
nothing.
We've got nothing.
And we have some people who are concerned that they're gonna lose out on some funding unless we get this done.
Well,
So we need to get this done.
we could also try this, and if we have to change it again, we bring it
Well,
back
it's
to.
a learning experience. That's why
Yeah.
you have the rec committee, right?
And I mean, ultimately, again, it's something, you know, like we talked about with the sponsorship and naming rights policy, this is not unique. This is not I take no credit for this idea. This is something that happens in every municipality.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of what works best for the community, because it is public infrastructure, so any revenue generated is public funds. But I think it's hard for people to say we're not going to support youth, not just sports, but Girl Guides or whichever youth serving groups are out there, right? Maybe cadets need some support as well, and we can put some advertising outside Cadet All, and you know, there are lots of options, and making it fair so that it's not just one group getting the benefit, but it's multiple groups having the opportunity to benefit from this fundraising opportunity that the city is able to generate. And right now we had you put a 1% contribution annually to our
Parks.
recreation reserve. And like I said, most of our infrastructure, recreation infrastructure is at end of life. Our big pieces of infrastructure are at end of life and they need major retrofits or a $50 million new facility.
So do we have somewhere in our reserves, let's take the recreation reserve, where we say we cannot go below a minimum amount so that we don't drain our reserves?
We can set different things in the reserve bylaw, absolutely. There's places where you can say, a minimum of this much must go in, but if there's additional funds available, then it would prioritize to this reserve or this reserve, right? There's lots of opportunities for how we manage those reserves.
Yeah, I think we should, because a drained reserve is useless, right?
Yeah.
And if we're putting money into the reserve, I think we should have a check balance on that saying, you can't go below this amount.
You want to at least
It's
be
gotta be
generating
there.
some interest in something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta have something there.
Yeah.
My opinion.
Yeah, no,
I agree.
and that's something we can come to after we, right now we need to decide on what this looks like.
Yeah. Okay, I do have a question. It's on the City of Merritt council policy. The last paragraph, the city reserves the right to temporarily remove or cover any advertising sign that, in the opinion of the city, is incompatible with a function or event being held at the location where the advertisement is located. So maybe it should never have been up if it's incompatible, and B, they've already paid for it. So how do we?
So again, I took this out of several other policies I saw, and I think this is more like, let's say we put advertising in the arena and then we had a trade show in the arena. And those advertisers were not part of the trade show, right? The trade show who's renting the facility has the right to say, to request that anyone who's not participating in the trade show gets covered. That's a pretty standard kind of thing. Let's say we have it for a wedding and they want to be able to drape something over the boards.
So there's no problems with, they've already paid for this
It
advertising?
would be
and covered?
we wouldn't be like covering it for a month, right?
Okay.
This would be short term. It would be able to have minimal, that's what we have the
Or-
right to approve it or not.
For example, like if the graduation ceremony was happening and they wanted to cover those things, so they're not in the
Well, they do
photos.
pretty much all the time.
What, yeah, but I was just using that as an
That
example.
would be exactly.
We
what-
would cover it for that event and then.
We also have a standard, because I just found out that the lemonade stand has a back room. And what happens if that back room wants to advertise?
So we do a standard, right? That's the criteria. We would not want to be advertising tobacco, alcohol, drugs, vaping.
Oh,
So it has to meet the
family
sort of
standards.
the vision and values of the community. We probably don't, we don't want to have, much like when we talked to T and V about their side, we don't necessarily want political statements.
Okay.
That makes sense. So I think we're all pretty much in
Yep,
agreement,
that's all I have.
and I think this was good. And so I guess we're just gonna vote that the Policy and Bylaw Review Committee recommend to council to consider the advertising of municipal property policy. Moved by Trent,
So we're going on.
They moved it, so you just have.
second, so all in favor?
Beautiful.
Great.
I just have a couple more points I wanted to bring up, if you don't mind.
On that?
More to
You
do
just
with, okay, so under I've got page 3 of 5 under the council policy. Says, tobacco, cannabis and vaping advertising are not permitted in the city of Merritt. I think it should be anywhere on the grounds or. in
Or
buildings.
on Merritt's public property?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay,
change that.
that's a bit clearer, yeah.
And then it says other representation of real life people in advertisements are not permitted without prior consent. You mean their prior consent?
Our prior consent, so they would have to prove to us that they have consent to use an image
From those people.
from those people, right? They can't just cut and paste from the web and use an image that they don't have license or rights to.
Okay,
That keeps
And-
us out of trouble.
okay.
You're right.
I wanted to know also how much the Centennials pay for their home of merit cents right at the beginning
They
of
don't,
the entry. Yeah, so how did that get up?
it's been there for a long time, I bet, but I'm actually meeting with some of the staff on next Monday. Gonna start talking about a holistic review of both the arena and the pool. And if we're talking about naming rights for the arena, whether the home of the Centennials has to come down, like, there's lots of questions about how it has to be managed, especially if we're going to retrofit those two buildings.
So I think that entry sign, because at the time when that went up, that was a community-owned team. And I wouldn't be surprised if people that had shares in it actually probably bought that sign and put it up. I could probably confirm that with Kevin Rabbit, but I'm pretty sure that's how that happened.
I thought that sign was just taken down.
No, it's still
No,
there.
it's still up.
It's still there?
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
I'm
we're also
just-
getting, no, because we're getting questions from the Rodeo Fair Association. They'd like to have some directional signs for people coming in from all directions on how to get to the Rodeo Fairgrounds.
We're gonna talk about that on June 3rd at your walkabout.
So we've talked about it now for
Are we
two
walking
straight years
to the
running.
rodeo
So
ground?
Yeah,
we
Yes.
talked to Peter on it 2 straight years.
Yeah,
running.
so ultimately, we need to reinitiate our wayfinding signage program. And we're gonna talk more about that on June 3rd, and talk about where priorities are. For some of that stuff, because we have to get back to doing that, and the rodeo grounds and the fall fairgrounds would be things you would wanna put on your wayfinding signage.
Mhm.
Not necessarily that they should have their own sign, but much like city center or the arts
Yeah.
building, it's
Yes.
it's a
Yeah.
directional sign that goes on our wayfinding sign.
Well, one to City Hall and
Yeah,
even the arena and pool.
Yes.
Signs
Yeah.
like that for visitors.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's not advertising,
Library,
it's just.
museum.
yeah.
Yes,
exactly.
yeah, museum.
And so it looks like in 2016, it was initiated, but never completed, so we need to go back and reevaluate that, so. We're bringing that to you on June 3rd for.
Is there any way we can contact the, what do they call it, MOTT now, Modi? Because this highway 97C that goes right through town,
Mhm.
there would be signage on that as well.
Yes, and so we'd have to meet their signage standards, but yeah,
Yeah.
we can work with that.
Okay, that's all I want to bring.
Well, it seems to be a hot topic, so we'll have that at council soon, I guess. Okay, so then next on the agenda, we have the Policy and Review Committee recommend, okay, this street naming addressing policy to be for, okay. So did we have, okay, so first off, moved and seconded. Any discussion for the street naming?
Street naming, we moved on.
You're just making sure I'm paying attention, right? Okay. So. I don't know what everybody else thinks of the names on here. I personally don't, but,
Well, I think it's the safest way to go if you're looking,
Yeah.
I mean, if we're looking at the fact that we name something after somebody and 50 years from now, they do something stupid or one of their relatives does. I mean, you can't see that coming.
but we, one of, the third one from the bottom is a family name, Bill.
It's which one is that?
Schwackham.
Let's
It
also.
was Schwackham Mountain.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
just
'cause
clarify.
Winter is
I
a
thought-
funny name too, it's one of ours.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was
But
it?
those are for now.
But do we have a summer and a spring and an autumn or a fall?
Yeah, we could put them all in there. I just
Yeah.
thought hot summer and cold winters.
Yeah.
I spitballed with Linda these names.
I think what's in front of you is probably the safest route to go.
I like it because it's a little different. And,
I don't.
oh, I do. I
Well,
kind
no,
of
and
like
I'll
it.
openly
And I
tell
think
you what-
Marmot should be somewhere out at the
No.
graveyard if you get a new road.
I'd like to tell you something. We got
Margaret
an
Road?
email,
Are we
thank you,
kidding?
from a family from last weekend who referred to their marmots she thought her parents would love the fact that their little friends, they had little friends up at the graveyard with them.
Digging right into their great,
She
into
said they
their
would be happy to
coffin.
have
What?
little
They don't
friends.
know it.
Yeah,
That's the first time I heard that.
They
that's
don't-
exactly why I'm not getting buried.
Well, the only like because there's Iron Mountain Road up off the highway, that's the only reason why I probably wouldn't want to have Iron Street. Monashi, well, and then we have Mountain Drive up top on Bench already.
Oh, do we have Mountain Drive? We thought, did we?
Yeah, we do.
We have,
You can rename
Mountain
Mountain
Drive
as
is at the very,
Blacktop Road, because that's what it always used to be called.
it's just at the top of.
Okay, we did go
But
through
you
the
know what?
list.
You can have a mountain street and a mountain drive.
And
No.
and it's confusing as anything, because you have Panorama Drive, and you have Panorama Drive and
Yeah.
Panorama Place, and people get confused constantly.
Coldwater, like. it's not-
Coldwater Avenue, Coldwater Road,
Super
there's
like-
two there.
Did you know Armstrong is two different names?
No?
Mhm.
Armstrong Street and Armstrong Ave.
Yeah,
Oh,
When you hit the
same,
corner?
not same street though.
And they
right?
call
When you
it
hit
a-
the corner, it changes.
Okay.
well, and then you have Granite Avenue, Granite Place, because there's a cul-de-sac, like, it's just,
Yeah.
I would just avoid that, I mean. But
Sorry, we missed the
Okay.
mountain one because we actually did look at the current names of the streets, but we must have missed that one.
Well, I like them. I think they're kind of different.
Yeah, I think they're okay too.
And again, we just like came up with some ideas, not offended if you want to take any out. We could take Iron out, so maybe people don't confuse it with Iron Mountain Road, I don't know.
I would take out Mountain and I would take out Iron, because we have Iron Mountain Road, which is way up the top going out to Kelowna. Just off the highway, and then there's Mountain Road is at the top on Bench, which connects with.
Yeah,
just
we'll
at the
take
top of
Mountain one,
Pine
obviously,
Ridge.
for sure.
I just think that you're gonna confuse
Yeah,
you know,
no, we'll
you're
take Mountain.
gonna
Road.
confuse the Amazon drivers who come from out of town delivering halfway up the highway.
Don't worry, they got GPS.
Well, yeah, well, you have great
So I'm
faith.
gonna say find my place.
I find them confused in the parking lot all the
We
time.
have sunshine out in the valley.
And
Yeah,
Sunshine
but
Valley.
Well,
That's
we weren't
routine
looking
already.
we weren't looking at anything outside municipal boundaries.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, we only looked at the ones that are inside municipal boundaries.
I like it.
yeah, I do too.
Yep,
It's the
okay.
safest road to go.
Well. So then are we just gonna bring this back to council then?
And, you're voting. You're
The
voting.
other thing I wanted to mention too, when I was coming back from Penticton, I had to stop in Peachland and I ended up having to go all up this windy road. What I noticed is that, because I was driving very slow because I was looking at the view and the houses and all the rest of it. But at the beginning of certain streets, they had, say it was named, for just Armstrong. They would have a picture of this old Mr. Armstrong, and then they had a little story beside it. So it was more for the heritage of the village
Yeah.
than anything else, which was very cool.
So was it
Yeah.
for every street or just certain streets?
Just certain streets, yeah,
Probably the ones like that you name them that for a reason, right?
like vote,
Yeah,
you know.
donated whatever amount of land to the
Well, actually,
city.
you know what? That's interesting because I mean, we got the Walk of Stars, right?
Mhm.
And so why don't we showcase the heritage? So, I mean, you look at, just going crazy. You
You're like, the sun is shining on me right now.
You look at how many streets have been named after very prominent people way back in our history.
Yeah.
Like, one of our counselors here, not naming anybody, didn't know that her street was named after a former mayor or councilor mayor. So that would be interesting to have that under those important streets. And I would support
And I'm
that.
sure if you
for-
contact Peachland, they would tell you how to.
Yeah, I
So
think that's a
They
great
might be able to
idea.
get grant.
Yeah,
Yes.
so again, June 3rd. We're gonna generate ideas very much like this. So keep this in your head so that when we do our ideas and stuff for on June 3rd. When we're meeting, that committee of the whole is gonna be about signage, like wayfinding signage. Points of interest signage, entry signage, and about downtown. Streetscaping and things like that. So these are the kinds of things, you're exactly right. If you have Walk of Stars, you can do something similar with people of prominence. Either in, like the first doctor's office, you might want to have a sign of prominence there. You might want to have, this particular person donated this much, the family that donated the land for the airport. Like, we don't have enough of that.
Mhm.
Well, that would be nice, because there's some like the Garcia family was here a long time ago, and then you have Garcia Street, and That would make sense to do it on
So
Smooth
a lot of
Street.
people don't know any of the history of that, and I think that would be another attraction for Merritt. Maybe we can work through TNV on this, I don't know.
Maybe
But,
it could be
you know,
something for,
It's,
Yeah, tourism
and
piece.
definitely you talk about waypoints, you could have, I don't know anything about waypoints, but I know you can put GPS stuff in there and people could just
Yeah.
automatically
Yeah.
go there.
And, you know, when we looked at these street names, we also thought about what are things that can be translated for additional signage into traditional languages. We can't translate people's names into traditional
Yeah, that's
languages,
right.
but we can flora and fauna and specific, you know, geographical things. So we can do a lot more about the whole history of the area because we can play with the people that we name things after. We can put in some translations of traditional languages. We can talk about important points of interest. We can tell stories. And that's the stuff that TNV, you know, when I've talked to them about some of their apps, that's the stuff those apps do.
Mhm.
Right? You
Yeah.
get to a sign and you click on, you know, you take the QR code and it just tells you the story.
So, when you talk about naming First Nations, how many languages do we have in the valley and which
Two.
language do you? Oh,
We
only have
just
two?
use two.
So you would put two under there?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we would go through something like like somewhere like NVIT with their elders council, because the problem is that each of the bands will have some different dialect.
Right.
But if we go through the elders council at NVIT, which is supported by all the bands, then we have kind of covered ourselves.
Okay.
Good. To not be super offensive.
Well, because we can't have great big huge.
Okay.
words for every
Yeah.
story.
Well, you don't have to put both languages up on every sign. You put Inca capital on one, silk on the next.
That's right, yeah.
So you share the load as it moves along.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
And QR codes for the other.
Yeah, lots of options.
perfect. Okay, so we're gonna move this one over to council. For a vote.
I think it was already voted on, wasn't it?
I don't know if we can vote.
Well, we didn't vote in favor.
There's
but all
only two that vote anyway, so.
Right, because
No, this
Three.
is just about creating the actual policy. Was it not? And we've got-
Well, it was moved and seconded, Charney.
Yeah. Okay, so with.
Yeah,
I'll-
as
we'll take
amended
Matt
with the two deleted
Yeah.
names, just to avoid. Panorama Drive is not considered part of Merritt because it's in Fox Farm GNRD, but it confuses everybody. Panorama Place, which is off bench, so I think it would be a good idea to.
Should we also, as we were talking about the other day, maybe put a date when this should be reviewed because it's a new policy?
So we do review all of the policies depending on the type of policy that. Sorry, every policy should be reviewed no more than 5 years. Some policies need to be reviewed more often because of legislation or because of the type of policy they are. But no policy should go more than 5 years without review.
So we are starting to do that.
We are currently in the process of
That's why we
doing
got
all of
so
that,
far.
which is why you guys are doing so much work right now.
Yeah, but he also said that new policies shouldn't be any more than a year.
Yes, they should be regularly reviewed.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay,
Oddly,
so
I understood that, yeah.
This, but I just think.
Yeah,
that-
Because you work at a bar.
Yes, that's voted on this.
so let's move and approve. All in favor? Yeah. So. Now we're on to 4.3, council discretionary expenses and CAO White to present.
So we just wanted to bring this policy to you because we're not sure that all of council is aware of this policy. The funds are currently for this policy, which is the discretionary expenses policy. The mayor gets a certain discretionary expense of 500 and each councillor 300 for participating in community events or going to meetings. So let's say you need to buy lunch or you need to buy a ticket for something, or you're doing some, you know, participating in fundraising. This is your discretion. It's got to be in the valley. So it can't be like you're traveling to Kelowna and using your discretionary funds. That's something different. But this is for spending in the community. Not sure council is all aware of it or remembers it. I haven't seen anybody ask for this funds in the 2 years that I've been here almost, although I did just have a councillor ask about it. Because they weren't sure if there was something for this particular example, having to get lunches at meetings. And I said this would be where this would come from.
Well, I think the
I don't
biggest,
think I would ever use it.
I
I
think the
don't
biggest thing
think so
that's come
either.
up is when we go on say if we're going off to UBCM and we have to pay for things, we have our
That's-
expense sheets,
yeah.
but that's something different.
That's
But
something different.
this is just, you're talking about within the,
Okay,
This
so
has
you
been
drive
around
out, you drive out on Remembrance Day to Lower Nicola.
Yeah.
I wouldn't claim for that.
I wouldn't
but
Well, I
some
think
might.
being on TNRD and seeing how the EA directors do their discretionary funding, this is more like, let's say, Airport Appreciation Day needed $250 for something, and I could say, you know what? I have $250 I can give you for that.
No.
No?
No.
no, this is to pay for a ticket, a meal, an
Yeah.
Yeah, but go-
expense that you have a
So
receipt
this
for.
is, you have to provide us, like, there has to be, so yeah, let's say the Centennial's dinner, whatever they do, their awards dinner. And you wanted to pay for your ticket out of this.
Icebreaker. It's an
Icebreaker,
icebreaker,
something
that's what
like
it's
this.
called.
That
yeah.
would come out of this. Let's say
Well, the
the
Christmas Rotary or whatever it is, the Christmas dinner.
yeah, the Chamber of Commerce dinner. If it was just one of you that wanted to go and you weren't buying a table and you weren't doing a council donation, because then you could do that. Like, let's say the Legion is doing a barbecue and it's, $5 a hot dog. You could get that's out of there. Let's say you were going out for a meeting at Nowayich and you needed to bring, well, actually that would still come out of protocol. For some reason, you had to buy lunch because you were there longer than you thought you'd be.
So when you say that it's within the valley, what is the definition of valley? Like, is it within the Nicola Valley, as close as Princess Bridge, because you're going out to Newich, which is almost 50
Yeah.
kilometers away?
Mhm.
Just to clarify.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been around for some time,
Oh, it
and
was-
the amounts have been the same for.
And-
a long time.
2000, it was here when I was on in 2008, but
Did
nobody
you ever
really
use
used it. I've
know-
never used it.
Do you know what? I would prefer that this $2,300 be put into some reserve or something.
So
If the money is already set aside, because you know what, I personally, if I'm going somewhere
And
in
it's
town,
built
I'm
up
not
because
going,
none of us have used it.
that's right, I'm not going I'm not gonna charge for anything I do in town.
Yeah, but it's not that it's there and that we're not using it. It's all in
It's there
general.
and we haven't
It's
used
out of
it.
general, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like,
Okay, but in the, okay.
like it's
Yeah,
coming
no.
in,
It's there if you need it.
We
It's
don't-
not, it's in general. right?
it's,
Okay,
it's coming out of the general fund, so it's not like we're.
it's not allocated and set
No.
aside?
no, if it
It's coming
comes,
out of the-
it's in the budget, it's right now, we took it out of it had its own budget line, but we took it out of that and put it into your council protocol,
Okay.
right? Because this is safe, like if you were buying a gift to bring to an elder, you would take that out of council protocol. If you had a minister coming to visit and you wanted to take them to lunch, you would take, you're gonna use council protocol more than you're gonna use probably your discretionary spending.
And I think the other reason that we can't just get rid of this is because some people future councils, maybe they're working.
Well, they can
and
bring it
maybe
back.
Well,
I would just-
if it's not being used, I would leave it the way it is. Some people can afford things better than
You never
others,
know
and
when
I
you
think
might
that's
need
why
it.
it's there.
Just
Maybe.
It's a
yeah,
small, it's, as Kevin would say, it's
negligible,
no, that's not what he says.
If-
It's immaterial.
immaterial.
But also we can use it so we know that we need to do some things around getting you guys some protocol items, right? Some gifts to give to people. So,
Yeah, like we should have taken to Penticton.
Yes, we were amiss on that one.
yeah, so we did the socks and we've done the basket for Silga and we have the consular general from the United States coming in a couple of weeks and those sorts of things where we're like, oh. But also, so we could, much like we're doing with the staff appreciation fund, we have 1 year where the fund is bigger and 1 year where it's smaller. So 1 year we do something nice for people, the next year I don't care as much about them, I guess. But we limit what we do, right? And that's similar, you could find that's similar, that 1 year you buy a bunch of protocol items or a bunch of gifts and you have a stock and the next year you don't use as much.
What I would like to see within this policy would be that most of us have a small stock of things that we have when we go to these events,
Mhm.
whether it be socks or a hat or some pens, because we all go to different committee meetings or different events, and sometimes it's nice to give people a hat, or because at Soga, like I hosted at the Legion, Councillor Egan had the brand, because obviously she owns it, and then Bill Sarai, councillor from Kamloops, was the host for the trivia night. And so we had some Soga branded swag to give out to, you know, the winners.
You didn't take any city swag?
And so.
Because it was a Soga event.
Mhm.
So I didn't promote, well, and also because there was not much access to city stuff at the time. So it would be nice to have those things. When Marilyn was there, we'd go to her office and take what we wanted, but I don't know where everything is now.
So a lot of that stuff was actually out of the staff appreciation budget. So what we're trying to do is separate those things. So that's why we put this money into your protocol budget, this $2,300, because if you're not using it for your discretionary funds, it allows us to sort of, and I think we've been actually reduced all of your budget on that. But it gives us the opportunity to buy some meaningful items that you can share with dignitaries or people of interest. And if you need money because you had to unexpectedly do something and you need to cover it, then it's still there.
Well, I would prefer to see this $2,300 going to buy items that council can hand out at events, because there's nothing more
Exactly
embarrassing
what I mean.
than going to an event and having absolutely doofus to hand out. So.
I
We've gone to a
Um,
few Soga events where
I
we had
I would suggest if we're
basket.
not gonna use it personally, then let's get some swag and
Yeah.
have swag for people so we
Some
can.
nice way.
Yeah, well, I
Or
mean,
just even make up some nice Nicola Valley baskets.
well, it's not just the fact it's baskets. I mean, it's the fact that we have a group of kids that come through here to go through City Hall. It would be nice to give them some pins. We gave them sunglasses, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we're running low on this stuff. So it would be nice to have this as we come along. We have those portfolio things that we give to, really, not everybody, but
People that were using.
But I mean, people like the sunglasses, they like the pins, they like the this, they like the mugs, the whole bit. So there's nothing worse than having nothing to hand out at an event. So I would prefer we do that and use this as a swag fund for a couple of nice hoodies, some t-shirts, stuff that we've done in the past where we can actually have that and then we can attain it when council needs to
And
use it.
a little stuffed Milo.
Yeah, we actually just got the rights for Milo, the electronic rights for Milo. So to get the costume made, which is not gonna be ready for Canada Day, sadly for me. And
So-
Sean, who is gonna wear it.
Hopefully it's air conditioned
It is, yeah.
in July.
But, yeah.
But I mean, it could be a hybrid, like, I don't think getting rid of this would be a good idea, because it's not used, so it's not a problem, but having swag that we can hand out is like.
Yeah.
Because when we go to events and not having, like, when we go to UBCM, it is nice to have a bag, here's your go bag, so that you have pens and notepads to hand
well-
out.
Yvette makes her little minister bags, so.
But Carol Fraser was really good about having us organized for that stuff, and when Marilyn was here, she was very good about making sure we had bags, and we don't have that now, so that would be on my wish list.
Yeah,
Well, I'd like
that's
to
why
make-
we,
I'd like to make
we
my
went with because again, lots of the t-shirts and stuff, that all came out of the staff
Yes, it
appreciation
did.
funds. That's why last year we ordered those portfolios and this year we ordered
For
the
black-
socks
yeah.
for Silga. I think we've got another order going in shortly
Yeah.
for
I
socks.
still like to get a City of Merritt sweatshirt, because I never did.
You never got one?
It was.
Okay.
You
we'll try and
get
get
one,
you.
I have a nice one. I'm wearing it as a matter of fact.
So so we've been looking at swag and being like, okay, well, if everybody gives that and everybody gives that, what we want swag people are gonna use.
Yeah,
Socks,
I mean,
socks.
I know that in the past, somebody had bought yoga mats. Well, those are kind of high cost, so maybe something a little
Is
bit
this where you
more
buy it from?
practical.
What, Foreign Print is one of the places, yeah. We can order from anywhere,
Well, if
but
we get coffee mugs, make sure they keep the coffee hot.
yeah.
Those mugs we got from Silga,
No,
I gotta reheat it about every 10 minutes.
So if there's stuff like, feel free to go online and look at corporate swag. For Imprint is one of the places we use, there's a couple of other places. There's the place in town.
Cracker?
Yeah, and as well,
Aim High Creation.
work,
She does a lot of things as
work
well.
and play will
Work
do
and Play.
jackets
And they
and
do t-shirts.
t-shirts and
too,
stuff
yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
apparel. So look and see what you want and we can look at the cost,
So
right?
do we have to make an official thing here that we would like this money to go towards purchasing swag or? how
It
does this-
isn't, no, because it's already in that budget. If for some reason somebody needs money out of this for this, if you leave this policy here, then it allows them to access it. But if it's not being accessed, then we can spend it for swag.
Okay, that's what I would prefer.
I mean, it's there, because you don't know what's gonna happen in 2 years.
Mhm.
Some people, you may not use it, I might not use it.
But you might have,
next
again,
note.
a single parent who wants to be involved in the civic process, who has to pay for babysitting,
Yeah.
this
it's-
might be something that helps cover
I
that.
mean, I've been at this
Exactly.
game now almost 14 years. I have never used this. Because it's never appeared. I know it's always
It's
been
not
there,
top of mind, but I mean,
Yeah, I know it's there,
I don't think
but-
getting rid of it would be.
but I think if we can get our swag up because I think it's.
Yeah.
That would be
Sign up.
nice. I mean, because you go to some events and you get stuff from some people and then sometimes you have nothing and you're a little embarrassed.
Yes.
So it's nice to have the swag. The socks were, I don't know who picked those out, but thank you. That was great.
That was
Okay,
him.
as a matter of fact, my grandson said those socks, I forget where the other ones were, maybe the BDO one. Best dressed socks he's gotten from me so far. And I get him the Fortis and that all the other
Fortis ones
socks.
are, the Fortis ones this year were bamboo.
I didn't take any. They're no good.
You know, Fortis started that whole sock thing, right?
Is that right?
Yeah, at Silga back in 2011. They came out with socks. There's actually a picture of all of us wearing the socks up at Sun Peaks. But they started that whole sock thing.
Yeah. Well,
But
they're
just
great.
here's a tale of, I have to thank the city staff. When the BC Naturalist Society came to me, which they're opening their convention tomorrow, they asked if they could have some swag bags. And I was like, oh yeah, no problem, because I thought they were like 30 people. Turns out to be 189.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
I don't know what Linda did, but she ran around and got stuff and bags. So I do apologize for that. I didn't realize. So I won't be doing that anymore. So I'll never commit to that again. So sorry, taxpayers and everybody else. I didn't realize it was going to be close to 200 people, but thank you, Linda, for running around and doing all of that on my stupidity. I feel like an idiot.
We will
100
bolster, and we won't purchase any, like, we purchased that because I thought, oh, this is something we could try, the portfolios. And we do the socks we needed for Soga, but we'll bring it to you for council to say, hey, yeah, we like this swag, we don't want this swag. It's yours to give, so you should
Mhm.
choose what it is.
You know, the things that I noticed have been popular, of course, are the sunglasses.
Yeah,
Everybody likes
sunglasses, I
those.
think you can always.
The
go.
socks are always a big
The little
hit.
stuffies.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
get some little Milo stuffies at some
And
point.
even, you know, the little notepads, there's a
Yep.
lot of people that do like city pens and notepads. A lot of people like leaving them by the phone or if they have an office.
These are
and
good
stuff like
too.
that. It gets,
That's
Those
good
little-
stuff for this,
Yeah, we have a couple.
Well,
of
the-
them. About super-
these stressors.
Stress balls.
Also,
Hey, you know what
those
the,
battery things that you needed at Silga, everybody loves those. One of the best things I ever
The
got.
recharging.
Yeah, the
yeah, oh,
recharging. battery.
yeah, there, you gotta be careful, they're, got one there.
You know, we looked at little speakers,
Yeah.
you
Make
know,
Yeah.
it,
branded little speakers.
they work great.
Do you know what the best
I like the camel.
squeezer I've had?
I wouldn't suggest. the
NVIP.
speakers.
Yeah.
Oh, the
The
bear.
Bear,
We,
on my
best one
desk.
so far.
we ordered some of those speakers for the office and to give them out as gifts and sometimes they work for
Tell
a
you, the
while.
Mako
and then
ones, the Mako ones are good.
And they
Holy
don't-
cow.
It's
My
hit
wife-
and miss, the
My wife
quality.
Pounds that in their bowls, right?
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, we didn't get one.
Oh.
Oh.
You just don't want to.
I guess.
Hmm.
not.
Yeah.
The mints
Sounds
are
like a
good
gift
too.
situation.
Yeah, sounds
Oh,
like a
dear.
gift to me.
Oh, dear.
Darn it, you keep doing your
It
learning.
was, it was in the swag bag. Yeah, everybody got donuts. Krispy Kreme.
Also didn't get donuts.
Did-
What are these donuts you speak of?
I think they brought that to City Hall that time.
Hmm.
So, okay, so we'll just leave it as it is. We just wanted to bring it to you because we weren't sure if everybody was aware and if you were satisfied with this or if you wanted to discuss it. And we wanted to let you know kind of what we see as a potential plan if it doesn't get used by council is for us to use it for
Yeah,
these kinds of items. So. But you know, finding something unique is really important. I think it was Trans Mountain gave out tick removers.
Yeah, I got
Those little
Yeah.
silver things they
Yep.
were giving out are ticks off your dog.
yep,
one toilet paper.
no,
FC, he's got that idea from Toronto FCM.
no.
They were giving out branded, yeah,
Branded what?
toilet paper. It
Oh,
has a message around the side of it and,
yeah.
yeah,
City of Toronto logo.
Jeez, can't
Love
take
it.
them anywhere. You have to
Love
pick it
it.
up.
Love it.
Just,
Toilet paper with Milo.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. No,
to give the appearance of used toilet paper. Yeah, recycled. Okay, so I guess we don't have any information items, so I would say that we're terminated.
Hey, get your book.
Terminated.